Hey everybody, it's Dr. Sherry here with another episode of Off the Couch, and I'm so excited today because I have a very dear friend and colleague, someone who I admire and respect and adore, Beth Waller. Thank you so much for coming on with me today.
Thrilled.
Yeah, so Beth has decided to join me. We actually met impromptu because we were thinking about one another and we just wanted to get together and catch up. And I asked her, will you please be on my show with me, because she is a champ at creating a thriving thought world. And so I want you to share some of your expertise and your experience with the listeners today. So we have 10 minutes. So this is the fourth installment of a series that I'm doing called The Words That We Choose. And today, the word that we too often choose can be used in present or future tense or in past tense. And that's should or shouldn't, right? So I don't know about you, Beth, but I've been guilty of saying I should do this or I shouldn't do this. And immediately, you guys, I don't know if you saw my face when I did that, but immediately when I go, I really should, look at my face. I'm like, I'm disappointed in myself. I feel discouraged. I feel defeated. I certainly don't feel like I'm ready to take action. So it doesn't even matter what I'm talking about, right? I should go to the gym, or I should eat better, or I should do this job, or I shouldn't do that job. Any way that you cut it, when you're using that word, you just have this whole defeating demeanor, disposition, and attitude that comes over.
That's true.
It is. So Beth, I have a question for you. So did you at one point in your life, I know you don't do this anymore, you guys, because again, she's a thriving thought world champ.
Hey, even thriving thought words, as we know, we still have that little should monster that creeps in.
It does, absolutely. That's a great point.
Like this little, you know better. Like we know better now, right? There was those times, our relationship started out when I was literally on her couch.
And now she's off the couch.
Off the couch. But I remember her saying, should, what? And I was like, I should be happy,
Right.
But I think the only thing you really should do is follow your heart.
Yes.
And I think that's when you follow your heart, you don't have to use the word should or shouldn't, because that is your guiding force, right?
You just do.
You just do.
You feel compelled to.
You're inspired to action. And that's how I try to live my life. It used to be, I should do this, I should do this, I should do this, I should do this. And it works. I mean, it works. But you're right, you're kind of you're not living your fullest potential by those limitations of those words, because you're doing things and you're making decisions by what you should or shouldn't do versus what your heart is telling you to do.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned this kind of driving force, because when you use the word should, it's almost like there's something attached to you that's pulling you.
Right. It seems like work.
Right. It's like something's telling you to go. But when it's your driving force, when it's your internal, your heart, and you're following your heart, it's your propulsion. It's actually giving you the momentum to go.
It's inspiration. It's movement and forward movement that you don't have to force yourself to do, which those words are ones that you do that.
Absolutely.
I know we both had times probably. I'm going to ask you a question.
Oh, great. Yay. On the spot question.
I just can't not ask people questions. So there are times, I bet you can think of times when that you just gave up that should and shouldn't, and something that evolves from that. When's the time you gave up that rule and that just that, I call them a bullshit rule. You gave up that should or shouldn't do, and then something evolved from that.
Well, my professional career is a big example, because I used to have, for those of you who've known me for a long time, Beth, I've had a traditional psychotherapy practice where I did therapy. It's really, I did the same thing I'm doing now. I just call it coaching now. But I did traditional therapy, and I had a lot of shoulds from myself about what I should be doing professionally, because that's what clinical psychologists did. You opened up a private practice, you saw people individually, you took insurance, you got signed on to insurance panels. It's just what you did. So it was kind of this proverbial or community should.
Right.
Kind of this just always there presence. And then there was shoulds from other people. Like, you should do therapy. You're a clinical psychologist. What else are you going to do if you don't do that, right? And so then there were those external shoulds. And so those, I kind of had the tendency to make my own. I started to believe that those shoulds were mine. And they weren't. They were coming from a different place. What was mine, when you're talking about following your heart, I remember I literally, you guys, had trouble sleeping at night. Because I was like, this is all focused on everything that's wrong with people, and that's not what I want to do. I don't want to focus on what's wrong with people. I want to focus on what's right with them. So my heart was not letting me sleep at night. And so even in the face of all of those external shoulds, of the professional shoulds, of people who loved me and cared for me and want the best for me, afraid for me, you should do this, Sherry, right? And so it's not about disappointing people. When you have shoulds coming externally, it's not about doing something so somebody else isn't disappointed. It's not about doing something so that somebody else respects you or admires you. That's the should part, and that causes us to do things, like you said, for the wrong reasons. We start to get pulled as opposed to pushing our way.
What I think is so powerful about the decision that you made, and I think can be such an inspiration to everybody else, and is that you found a way of getting around your shoulds and what you should do in your path as your career, and you created a life where you can be the best therapist that you can ever be, by not being the traditional therapist that you were. So I think people out there that are like, well, I should do this, or I have to do
come
this,
back in the frame
I
a little
should do
bit.
this. They think, well, it's impossible to get around my shoulds. Well, there's always a way. And if people take that first step, that first step in breaking through and following what their heart is telling them, what they should do, then it will just open up, one little step at a time. So what's a little step that somebody out there watching today can do? You didn't do this overnight. My goodness.
Oh my goodness, no, I'm still doing it. This is,
and
I'm
you're never
still
finished. That's the worst part. Like, you never finish this. You never figure it all out, right? It's all just an evolution.
Right. But it fits into what I talk about having a thriving thought world. That the only way to really thrive, you guys, for me, if I go back to me having trouble sleeping at night because I was diagnosing people, which, by the way, I can diagnose myself, you, anybody else with anything, anytime I want. It's a little book. That's another story. But I had trouble with that, right? And so I started having trouble sleeping at night, and that was really affecting my quality of life. It was affecting, I wasn't thriving. I was surviving. I was muddling through. And I was very good at what I did. I loved doing what I did, but I didn't want to do it in the constraints that the industry had for me. And so, it has changed my quality of life. It's changed my confidence in myself. It's changed my ability to provide really quality coaching and writing and doing these off the couch,
reaching
videos.
out to so many more people. You were limited from 9 to 5, seeing people Monday through Friday, and now that the reach of somebody that can be watching one of your videos. And
That's
stuff.
absolutely
You're expanding your influence by doing what you shouldn't do.
Right.
Which is so awesome, and I think that's the message that people need to understand. It's in doing. If you really, really think you should do something or shouldn't do something so strongly, then examine what that is, and start doing the opposite, or and it will evolve, because those really fierce feelings of is what usually, if you open up, you couldn't sleep at night. I had the similar thing with my career, my life, that you just have to take one little step at a time, and it just can evolve.
What do you think is the greatest thing in your life that's evolved since you gave up your shoulds? And hey, viewers, friends, by the way, the shoulds, like Beth said, they never go away. It's an old brain habit that dies really, really hard, and it keeps coming back, and you have to keep working against it, right? Keep overcoming it. It's never going to truly fully go away.
But it helps so much to be aware of it.
Yes.
Okay, is this a false belief that I have that isn't necessary? I just think my biggest thing that started my hump in transitioning my life is to stop worrying about what people thought.
Yes.
I should do this because somebody's going to think this, or somebody might get their not like this decision that I'm making. And I think that's one of the first steps, is you have to be okay with caring about what you believe and what you think, what your heart thinks you should do, which is the only should that matter.
Well, and I think too that it's not about, for me, it's not so much about not caring what other people think. It's about being prepared with a response for people
because you're always going to care.
You're always going to care for people that have a should for me. That's not mine. Right. It's being prepared and saying, thank you so much. I know you love me. I know you care for me.
It's coming from a good spot.
Right. I know it comes from a great place. And this is where my heart is driving me to. And I'm so glad I have your support while I'm doing that, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be prepared with the response.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Beth, for being on the show with me today.
Was awesome.
Yeah. Hey, guys, this is one. If you want to be on the show, by the way, please reach out to me. I'd love to have you. I love having guests, and I love getting out and about in the community to do this show and just to share the simple tools like the words that we choose that you can use to really create and fuel that thriving thought world. It's possible. Just look at us.
Yeah.
It's
Anything's
possible.
possible.
It's possible. So we'll see you right here next Tuesday, 12:30 live for another episode of Off the Couch with Dr. Sherry. And who knows, maybe it'll be Off the Couch with Dr. Sherry and friends. Until then, Beth, close us out with a little bit about what matters and how people can check out What Matters does.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, my should was you shouldn't close down this thriving real estate company and open up a nonprofit. I'm still selling real estate, but I'm doing it on my own now, and I have a nonprofit now. I've been spending a lot of time in Africa. www.whatmattersw2.com just lists a lot of my different passion projects. So basically, anything is possible. You can just create your own nonprofit and do things you want to do in this world. You don't need anybody to give you permission.
Yes, excellent. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
and thanks for hosting the show today. I'll see you guys next week right here on my Dr. Sherry page, where I'm shifting perspectives and speaking life to you so that you too can have a thriving thought world. See you next time, friends.